At what point in the future will North and South Koreans no longer speak the same language? The Democratic People's Republic of Korea and the Republic of Korea, North and South in other words, have been separated since the end of World War II. That's almost 80 years ago. In 1945, the whole peninsula spoke Korean, one language, the same language. But with the North entirely sealed off from the Southern media and contact, at what point in the future will they no longer be able to understand each other, and will North and South Korean have become two different languages? The answer is that they already have, to a degree. In much the same way that Brits and Canadians will speak the same language but have noticeable different accents and word choices, the same is true in Korea. South Korean and North Korean are already noticeably different. Some of these differences have always existed, as part of a natural dialect continuum that exists in most languages. One place will speak slightly differently to the place 5 minutes down the road, with differences of hours being much larger. However, the isolation of the North has led to the exacerbation of these differences and further changes developing. The RP, or Received Standard Pronunciation of South Korean, is called Pyojunyo and is based on how people speak in the capital Seoul, while in the north it's the dialect of Pyongyang, or Munhwayo, which is the main prestige dialect. As with its politics, North Korean is generally more conservative with its language. It retains an older form of words, keeping an R or L before an I or a Y, where South Korean has dropped it. The biggest noticeable change is in vocabulary. With its booming tech industry and Western connections, South Korea has loaned many words from English, particularly when it comes to modern phenomena. Words like app, update, Wi-Fi, event. North Korean, in contrast, makes its own terms.
응용 프로그램, 앱, 갱신, 업데이트. 무선랜, 와이파이, 행사, 이벤트.
When it borrows, North Korean takes words from Chinese and Russian because of its communist affiliations to both China and the Soviet Union.
현강,
From Chinese,
边疆
border region,
열차,
is used in both Koreas for train, but North Korea sometimes calques directly from Chinese expressions like
기관차,
locomotive,
동무,
comrade from Chinese.
同志
The South dropped this word. At least it's now used in a different context to mean a childhood friend. But in the North, it became the standard form of address, as in other communist countries.
노동,
Labor from Chinese.
劳动
The South prefers the form,
노동,
but the North, they spell it with the initial ro. Russian words came into the North in the period of the 1940s to the 60s, when the two countries were closest. Terms like
빠찍기,
palto, coat, or from the Soviet slang for a card game, batsik. This may have come in through Russian criminal jargon, which is quite interesting.
쿠레파스,
Krepost, which means a fortress.
파이로트,
Pilot, pilot.
트락토르,
Traktor, tractor.
스페스,
Spets, Russian for special, a shortening of the Russian word spetsialne. I decided to get quite close and personal for this one because I had just heard that you aren't subscribed. Yeah, that's what YouTube Analytics does. So think about it. Do it. This acceptance of foreign loanwords actually marks a shift away from previous North Korean policy. In the first decades of its existence, the DPRK tried to get rid of many Sino-Korean words, words that had in the past been adopted from Chinese and some from Japanese, and instead replace them with pure Korean forms, or Neologisms. As a part of its vocabulary, it's estimated that North Korean has a smaller share of Sino-Korean words, even though of the foreign loans it has, many of them are directly from Chinese. In general, though, South Korea never got rid of its own Sino-Korean words, and has adopted far more foreign words since partition. Sometimes South and North Korean have borrowed the same words, but from different languages. For example, in South Korean,
폴란드,
is taken from English Poland, but in North Korean it's
폴스카,
from Polish Polska. Let's take a quick break to play What's That North Korean Neologism? I'll read the literal translation of the North Korean and you have to guess what the English word is. Ready? You can type your answers in the comments below. Number 1. Meat layer bread. What is meat layer bread referring to? It is a hamburger. Question 2. What is ring bread? Ring bread. It is a donut. Question 3. This one's really wild. What is hair water soap? Hair water soap. It is, of course, shampoo. And question 4, this is the most difficult one. If you can get 4 out of 4, then I'll be very impressed. Hand sound signal. What is hand sound signal? It is knock, to knock on the door. Both North and South use the same Hangul script, but the South adopted a more modern way of writing Korean in the Latin alphabet. So when transcribing the language, while the North uses an older transcription model. So while a South Korean would anglicize the northern capital like this, a northerner would anglicize it like that. So why are North and South Korean changing? Both have separate school systems and radically different styles of media. One is open and internationally oriented. The other is closed off, an isolationist with no access to foreign media. Their political affiliations have directed which loanwords they adopted. In general, the South has adapted and updated their standardization more, while the North clings to older norms and standards, particularly when it comes to formal modes of address and the traditional hierarchy. People tend to emulate the speech of those who have social and or political capital. So when South Koreans are listening to this, and North Koreans are listening to this,
미 합중국 대통령은 이에 예를 표시하면서 조미 사이에 선의의 대화가 진행되는 동안
things will start to shift over time. In fact, this language divide is already coming to the fore. In recent years, North and South have played together on the United Korean ice hockey team, but they soon realized that players were struggling to understand each other. The Southerners referred to the goalkeeper as
골키퍼,
from English goalkeeper, while the North Koreans said
문지기,
a neologism meaning doorkeeper. Eventually, the coach and staff decided to make a mini dictionary with both sets of terms so that they'd be able to communicate with each other. That's interesting because it mirrors on a small level what's already happening on a larger scale, where linguists North and South are working together on an all-Korean dictionary. We plan to collect about 210,000 words, and then we will collect new words and expressions that are being used but not in dictionaries. That would be about 100,000. That's according to the South Korean lexicographer Han Yong-woon, who is one of the main linguists working on this all-Korean dictionary. He estimates that it should be completed in the next few years, so let's watch this space. An interesting case study to look at is Germany, who from almost the same time as Korea up until 1990 were also split into a free West and a communist East, with very limited contact between speakers of both sides. Just as we're seeing in Korea, it was Germans' vocabulary that differed the most. West Germans picked up Anglicisms, Supermarkt, Plastik, Overheadprojektor. East German had Soviet or administrative terms and unique coinages. Broiler for grilled chicken, Kaufhalle for supermarket, Plaster for plastic, and Polylux for
Overheadprojektor.
Pronunciation and grammar stayed close though. Media registers did differ, and some style or phrasing marked out differences between East and West. But after reunification in 1990, rapid levelling toward the West German standard because of media, education, and the economic pull meant that most of that East German standard had been forming disappeared quite quickly. Some Eastisms persist culturally or regionally, but the standard language converged. The 1996 orthography reform applied to all, reinforcing unity inside the country. Korea has been split for considerably longer than Germany was, so could it develop into two different languages? The short answer is not soon, and probably not without continued deep isolation for a long, extended period of time. Today, about 80 years post-division, the grammar is still nearly identical. Pronunciation differences are modest, vocabulary differences are there but mostly shallow, especially outside of the political or bureaucratic class. If division continues for another 50 to 100 years with limited contact, expect growing lexical and stylistic distance between particularly language of technology, language of the youth, slang, neologisms, and those of ideology, the communist and the capitalist worlds. Spoken accents could drift further, but the core morphosyntax will likely remain mutually intelligible for a long time. Think of it as a dialectal separation with strong branding, not a split like Spanish and Portuguese. To become fully separate languages, you'd need centuries of separation, or extreme social barriers and divergent schooling, plus ongoing waves of different outside influences. If Korea were to reunify or substantially reopen, South standard media and tech vocabulary would likely spread quickly, given its global prestige, while North-specific terms would survive in niches or as cultural markers. Without reunification, expect a stable but widening lexical gap, not a grammatical schism. So, let me know in the comments below. Do you think that Korean could split into a North Korean variety and a South Korean variety? Or do you think that somewhere down the line, before this happens, the two Koreas will come together and be unified? And will we see any of the old Russian or Chinese influenced vocabulary from the North surviving? Or will they all be saying app, update, an event before long? Remember to subscribe down below if you haven't already, and give me a thumbs up because it really helps me in these videos. Let me know if you like the new format with the camera on. The background does need some work, I realize, but all good things will come. So thank you for watching. I've been Hilbert, this has been the video, and I'll see you in the next one.